You know that moment when you step into a crowded place and your body reacts before your mind even finishes the thought. The noise hits first, then the lights, then the strange realization that there are too many people moving in unpredictable ways, too many conversations overlapping, too many eyes passing over you without really seeing you. And before you can rationalize it, your system decides, I want out. Maybe you pretend to check your phone. Maybe you drift toward the edge of the room, like a satellite losing orbit. Maybe you tell yourself, just 10 more minutes, even though every minute feels heavier than the last. If this feels familiar, this video might be about you. Or maybe it's about someone close to you. The friend who avoids concerts. The coworker who mysteriously disappears from office gatherings. The partner who suddenly needs some air when a place fills up. People who hate crowded places are often misunderstood. They're labeled shy, antisocial, anxious, or too sensitive. But those labels barely scratch the surface. Because the same behavior, avoiding crowds, can come from very different psychological mechanisms. And once you understand those mechanisms, something shifts. What looked like avoidance starts to look like awareness. What looked like weakness starts to look like self-knowledge. So let's slow this down and look beneath the surface, because there's hidden psychology here. And by the end of this, you may see yourself, or someone you know, in a way you never have before. Imagine walking into a packed cafe during peak hours. Every table is full. Chairs are too close together. Conversations overlap into one constant, shapeless hum. Someone laughs loudly behind you. A chair scrapes the floor. Cups clink. The espresso machine screams like it's personally offended by the entire room. Other people seem unfazed, chatting, scrolling, relaxed. But inside you, something starts to fray. Your thoughts scatter. Your shoulders tense. Your energy drains faster than it logically should. This brings us to the first psychological profile, the highly sensitive nervous system. Some people don't just notice their environment, they absorb it. Their brains process more sensory input, more emotional cues, more background detail all at once. Psychologists often describe this as high sensory sensitivity or heightened neural responsiveness. For these people, crowds aren't just busy, they're neurologically expensive. Every sound competes for attention, every movement registers, every face becomes another signal to interpret. The brain works overtime just to stay oriented. This isn't fear, it's overload. Highly sensitive people often thrive in calm, controlled environments. They enjoy deep conversations, creativity, nuance, and reflection. But put them in a crowded space, and their nervous system shifts into survival mode. Not because the place is dangerous, but because it's too much. So they withdraw. Not because they dislike people, but because their system needs fewer inputs to function well. If this is you, you may have spent years wondering why others seem to handle chaos so effortlessly. They're not stronger. Their brains just filter more aggressively. Then there's another type, quieter, subtler, and often invisible from the outside. Picture someone who used to enjoy crowds. They went to parties. They blended in easily. Busy places didn't faze them, but now, crowds feel heavy, tense, almost threatening in a vague, hard to explain way. This profile often belongs to people whose nervous systems learned caution over time. Maybe they grew up in unpredictable environments. Maybe they experienced social rejection, bullying, or emotional instability. Maybe nothing dramatic happened. Just enough moments where being surrounded by people meant losing control, being judged, or feeling unsafe. The brain is excellent at learning patterns. Once it associates crowds with uncertainty or emotional threat, the body remembers, even if the mind tries to move on. So when this person enters a crowded place, their system switches into vigilance mode. Where's the exit? How long do I need to stay? Who might notice me? This isn't conscious fear, it's conditioned alertness. Avoidance becomes regulation, not weakness, adaptation. Now here's a twist most people don't expect. Some people hate crowded places not because they're anxious, but because they're deeply independent. Imagine walking through a packed shopping center. People move in clusters. Trends are obvious. Conversations blur together. Everyone seems pulled by the same invisible current, buying, reacting, moving, wanting the same things. And instead of comfort, you feel resistance. Psychologically, this reflects a strong internal orientation. These individuals derive identity and direction from inner values, not group consensus. Crowds feel constraining, like their autonomy is being diluted. There's an unspoken pressure to move at the same pace, respond the same way, desire the same experiences, and their mind quietly pushes back. They don't hate people, they hate losing mental sovereignty. If this resonates, you may notice that you think best alone, dislike being rushed, and feel irritated when your rhythm is dictated by others. Crowds aren't scary, they're intrusive. Then there's another profile, softer and often painful to recognize. Imagine standing in a crowded room, surrounded by voices and laughter, and feeling completely invisible. No meaningful exchange, no depth, just surface level noise bouncing off polite smiles. This type doesn't hate crowds because they're loud. They hate them because they're empty. Psychologically, these people crave depth and authenticity. Their social reward system activates with emotional nuance, shared understanding, real connection. Crowds tend to offer the opposite: fragmented conversations, performative social roles, interactions that skim the surface and move on. So instead of feeling energized, they feel lonelier in crowds than when they're alone, and often they internalize it. What's wrong with me? Why can't I enjoy this? But nothing is wrong. Their minds are simply calibrated for depth over volume. And finally, there's one more profile: practical, grounded, and surprisingly common. Some people hate crowded places because crowds remove control. In tight spaces, movement is restricted. You can't leave instantly. You can't predict what others will do. For people with a strong need for order, predictability, or internal structure, that loss of control creates stress, even if they don't label it as anxiety. Their minds are constantly organizing, mapping exits, tracking time, creating internal clarity. Crowds disrupt that system, so avoidance becomes a way to maintain equilibrium. Not fear, not dislike, stability. If you've been listening and thinking, I relate to more than one of these, that's normal. Human psychology isn't a single label. It's layered, adaptive, contextual. What matters is this: hating crowded places doesn't mean you're broken, antisocial, or defective. It often means your nervous system, values, or cognitive style are finely tuned in, a world that celebrates constant stimulation and constant togetherness. So the next time you feel that pull toward the exit, don't rush to judge it. Pause. Listen. Your reaction isn't random, it's information. Which profile felt closest to you? Or maybe you recognize someone else entirely. And if this helped you see yourself, or others, a little more clearly, stay curious. There's a lot more hidden psychology waiting beneath everyday behaviors.